Have you found yourself navigating a dark night of the soul? Are you craving a deeper connection with the divine feminine? Are you ready to integrate the balanced union of the masculine and feminine within? Then let's get started on the journey towards wholeness to reclaim your sovereign soul. My name is Cynthia Clark. Over the past several decades, I have undergone many dark nights of the soul. My healing journey has been a reclamation of my sovereign divinity. Whether you're just starting out on your self-healing journey or have been exploring techniques for many years, Discover Divinity offers an opportunity to uncover the new possibilities for discovering and reclaiming the innate wisdom within. It is time to discover the new possibilities. It is time to discover you. Have you ever outgrown the spiritual box you were given but didn't know what came next? In this episode, Reclaiming Your Sacred Spirituality, the journey from doubt to inner wisdom, I sit down with my guest, Allen Atkinson, a transformational guide and intuitive creative, to talk about what it really means to reclaim your sacred spirituality after betrayal, religious wounding or trauma, or faith transition. We explore how to let go of limiting beliefs, how to rebuild a spiritual foundation rooted in honesty and love, and vital tools to help you get back on that path to your innate wisdom. If you are navigating your own spiritual evolution, this conversation is a breath of truth, depth, and grounded inspiration. Tune in. Your soul will thank you. Welcome to the Discover Divinity podcast, Reclaim Your Sovereign Soul. My name is Cynthia Clark, the founder of Discover Divinity and discoveringdivinity.com. We are having a soulful conversation today where we are tapping into those spaces of embodying your divine truth. I am joined with Allen Atkinson today, and we are going to be diving into the deconstruction and letting go of toxic belief systems and things that no longer serve you, and aligning with your spiritual compass that is true to you, one that has not been imposed from the outside. And most of all, being able to come back to that place of trusting your innate wisdom and plugging into that birthright that is yours simply because you exist. And this deep and soulful exploration of what it means to reclaim the sacred parts of your spirituality is so vital, especially after a period of spiritual crisis, awakening, or disillusionment. So whether you've experienced betrayal, the burnout, the dark night of the soul, faith transition, this conversation is for you. And like I said, I welcome Allen Atkinson to the show today. He is an intuitive photographer and a transformational thinker and a longtime public servant from Hawaii. He has his master's in public administration, and his spiritual path has led him from the structure of organized religion to a more expansive, heart-centered connection with spirit. Allen is certified in parent coaching, quantum creation, and Wim Hof breathwork, and he brings a grounded, soulful present shaped by decades of experience and transformation. So welcome to the show, Allen.
Aloha. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yes, I am super excited to have you, Allen. And first of all, we're going to be covering how to let go of religious structures while honoring the good that they offer. Number two, we're going to be addressing what it means to root yourself in new spiritual anchors. And you have taught me some beautiful Hawaiian words. So if I say these wrong, please correct me. Okay, so we're going to be talking about kapua aloha, pono, and personal integrity. How did I do on those?
I'll say when we get to it, so that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so he does his best to work with my mediocre Hawaiian words, but I'm super excited to talk about these concepts. Number three is the healing power of nature plant medicine and creating your own sacred rituals, and why supportive communities, especially virtual ones, can offer deep connection and belonging. And then number five, how to trust your evolving spiritual identity as you walk a path that's uniquely yours. So I'm super excited, Alan, and I feel like today's conversation, it really is more than a conversation. It's kind of like that metaphorical permission slip for everyone out there to reclaim their connection with spirit, to trust self again, and to live in alignment with the soul's deepest truth. So if you're ready, I'm ready, Alan.
I'm ready.
Let's get started. I've had the privilege of being able to walk with you, and see like such a powerful healer you are in the work that you do. But maybe if you want to share a little bit about how we know each other, and then I'll share a little bit more on my end too.
How we met actually is really interesting. Uh, my son was doing some volunteer work for a church, and he met you, and he messaged me one day, say, "Hey, Dad, you gotta. I think you'd like this lady. You gotta in touch with her," which is kind of unusual. Like he had never really done that before. I said, "Okay." So eventually we connected and we started talking story and became friends. Had a lot in common in energy work and our paths and kind of where we were at spiritually. And so we had some really intriguing conversations, which just in and of themselves were very healing to me, to have someone else to talk to, because there wasn't many people like in my close circle of people that I could have these kind of conversations with. Uh, and then eventually I realized I was kind of stuck. And so I reached out to you for some professional help in getting unstuck and moving forward. And then we went forward from there.
Yeah, I love our story because it's funny that, your son was serving, the service mission for the organization, that would then be some of the things that you were peeling back and having to heal from. And at the time, my husband and I were also going through some difficult things, and for me, about your son, I always really, really appreciated him and who he was, through and through. Like his character told me so much more about who you and your wife were as well. And the way he treated us with care, going through some of the difficult things that we were going through. Like I have so much love and admiration for his character, and knowing that he was raised by you and your wife, told me a lot about who you were as well. And so when you did come to me to try to unravel this really, really difficult thing, it's been an honor for me to be able to watch you peel back layer by layer some of these catastrophic things that happen through the dark night of the soul, and those parts that do keep us stuck. And so watching you from that point to this point, has been amazing. And this is why I really felt like your voice would be so needed and so helpful for so many that are struggling. They are in the depths of that betrayal trauma. They are in the depths of trying to peel back so many layers of having a light shined on things and waking up, really, right? Like sometimes it comes through that dark night, or that trauma response to something that happened, that pushes us into this catalyst of having to see things in a new way. And so I think that that's where I would love to be able to get started, because in the introduction we talk about letting go of religious structures, right? Like this is kind of like that dark night of the soul, the peeling back that you had to go through. And when you felt like you kind of had that wall, being able to start to have the awareness, the understanding, to help you peel back those layers. So I would love for you to just get into that just a little bit more.
Where do I start? Um, I remember what's coming to my mind right now is I remember one of our first conversations when I called you to ask for help, and your first question was inviting me to choose like what I wanted to do with religion. And no one had really asked me that before. I was like stuck in this anger
Mm-hmm.
and betrayal and what do I do with
Mm-hmm.
this? And this doesn't seem right, but this is how I grew up. And like it's not working. And and I knew when you asked the question that you weren't going to push one way or another. Like you were looking to me for guidance so that you knew where to go with it. And so I guess it came with starting that decision of no, I need to let go. And that's I'm not saying that that's for everybody. That's what I decided, and I know that I can
Mm-hmm.
shift that and change that anytime I want. Um,
Absolutely.
but
Because spirituality is unique for each and every individual, and someone who chooses to stay in a religious organization, because that serves their highest good, that's beautiful and that's wonderful. And so that, especially as I do this podcast, like I always want people to feel safe no matter where they're at on their spectrum. This is so important. And the most important thing is for us to be able to help an individual work through the trauma and all of the things that come with it, so that eventually you can peel back that onion and you can start to rebuild a spiritual foundation that works for you. And that's going to look so different for every single
for
person.
everybody, right?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying religion's bad. One of the struggles I've had with is realizing and remembering and seeing how it works for some people, and it's good for some people. We've had different experiences with it, and my path isn't the same path for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to honor that for others. And you've done a great job with that with me and honoring
Thank
that
you.
choice. And if I make a different choice, like I know that you would honor it and we would
Mm-hmm.
go wherever we need to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, and regardless of where someone decides that they need to be, I think something that's super important is being able to, part of that rebuilding of your spirituality. Because if you have been traumatized, you have been betrayed, you have had something where you're like, wow, something looks different than it did before, and I've got to analyze this and look through this. First of all, like, we have to look at belief systems, and we have to be willing to let go
Yeah.
of old belief systems that no longer serve us. Like, that's a huge, huge thing to be able to do after a faith transition. And so, was there a particular belief or a theme that you found challenging? Because I feel like when you were in that first space, right, of going, whoa, I feel blocked, I feel stuck, being able to go, okay, let me sit with this right here. Did you feel like there was something particular that was hard to release,
Oh,
or that you were, when you were navigating that process? Because I feel like for individuals, it's like a mixture. It's a song. Have you heard Mindy Gledhill? I'll have to look it up and then I'll post it. But it's like a candy coated poison, right? Um, because when people start to go through this betrayal work or anger work, or feeling lied to, or on many different levels, sometimes it's mixed in. Like, all the sweetness of what religion brought you is so positive, right? Like, our innate desire as individuals that want to love and serve and want to be good people, want to be connected to God. Those things are kind of intrinsically woven into some of the really toxic things that
I,
happen. And so it's hard to separate that piece of candy, right? Like it's
that's
like the
been
poison and the really sweet parts. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say is I think that's why it's so hard to let go is because part of our hearts are connected to these feel good things. And it's like a
yeah.
do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do. I
Like I
do.
don't even
That's probably one of the biggest challenges for me because I have like I'm in Sedona right now for the week, and I lived in Flagstaff, which is a half hour up the road, and I have fond memories of teaching 9 and 10-year-olds in Flagstaff, and the things that they taught me while I was teaching them are just amazing. Um, I taught religion classes to high school students for 12 years before school started, and they're very fond memories of that. And so, yes, that's been one of the hard things is like pulling that out and not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. Um, and that has been challenging. I can't, one particular thing, I can't think of like a specific. I think it's been realizing that I get to choose my beliefs and then figuring out which ones I choose. And that a big one is realizing that religion and spirituality are two different things. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm not a religious person anymore.
yeah.
Um, and so really, uh, I mean, sit back and sit with myself and choose what am I going to believe? I was told all my life from a religion what to believe. Um, they may term it differently than that, but I'm going to say it the way I see it, telling me what to believe, and this is the way it is, and this is the truth. And sitting back and going, wait a minute, is it? I can choose? Like, what do I choose? What do I want to believe? What is most important for me in my life? And what do I want to continue believing? What do I want to let go of? Like those kinds of questions and those kinds of things were probably some of the biggest challenges, and yet at the same time, biggest wins in realizing I get to choose.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like that choice is so important because a lot of the structures and the things that happen in those organizations are based off of fear and shame.
I was
And
just going to say fear, like as I was saying
yeah.
that, you were saying that thing, letting go and realizing that things that I was told in religion would happen if I didn't follow anymore, like that fear-based following, like letting go that that's like it hasn't happened. I'm happier now than I've ever been. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have challenges in my life. Doesn't mean that I still get angry sometimes or that I don't get sad or that things don't happen. Overall, like I'm happier than I've ever been in my life. I feel more on purpose than I ever have in my life. But I've had to let go of the, like you were just saying, those fear things that if I don't do this, if this is what's going to happen, well, is it?
Well, and I think the way that what's coming up for me right now is what I see in like a lot of judgment that comes from people that decide to stay in and watch people who choose to walk out of religious organizations is that they associate that particular organization or building with God. And so a lot of times they view someone or they view their belief systems as if they walk away from that particular organization that they don't have a relationship with God or they don't have a
Uh,
relationship with spirituality. And so that's where I feel like fear is the inhibitor here.
I guess I've been lucky, blessed, however you want to put it, that I began to feel like God, source, ultimate power, higher power, whatever, however you want to term it, in many, especially in nature. I remember as I was going through this, like walking on the beach and having conversations with God. Like literally, I would ask questions and he or she would answer. Like they would answer, and I would like at times literally feel like I was holding hands with them as I walked along the beach. Um, as I'd be out surfing or in the forest or I began to feel it in a lot of different places, not just in the structures or the buildings or when I was around that religion or those symbols. Something I've been realizing lately is that symbols are important in that they point me to something. It's not the symbol that's magical. It's what is it pointing me to? And if I can remember what it's pointing me to, then how do I want to say this? Symbols, practices, ceremonies. It's all about what is it pointing us to. It's not about the ceremony. It's not about you have to do it this way. Um, it's about what is it helping me see? What is it pointing me to? And so I've realized that I can create my own ceremonies, or if I am going through a ceremony that may be more generic toward people in particular, and I've done group ceremonies and things with people, or even thinking back on the religious ceremonies that I've done, been a part of, what was it really pointing me to? And can I still get the importance of that without having to do the ceremony all the time? Or as, I don't know if that makes sense or not, or change them
Yeah.
up. Because
Yeah.
it's not about because it's not about that particular ceremony. It's about what it's pointing me to. Is there something different that I'm doing that points me there, or maybe even better?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I
Yeah.
remember the time decided I was going to I couldn't keep going to church. It was just too stressful. I started some other practices and realized that I became closer to God, to Source that year than I had in years before. Like I felt
Mm-hmm.
closer at that time than I ever had before.
Yeah. And like this is a really beautiful part of that rebuild process because religious trauma, religious wounding can be so debilitating. Like it can be so discombobulating. Like it's hard to even express in words unless you've gone through it individually, and me going through it personally, but me also watching my loved ones go through it, my clients go through it. There sometimes is a moment in time, right, when you have been so traumatized, when you've been so sure about everything, what you believe, the direction to be in life, and then you have a shaking of that. It's very common and it's very normal for it to kind of swing all the way from this side of the pendulum
Right.
all the way to the other side and going, okay, what in life is actually even real? And ceremonies and symbols and ritual and all of these things are actually can be very triggering for a lot of people. And so if that's you out there that's listening to this going, oh, I want nothing to do with anything,
Yeah,
period, it's okay.
that's
Like
fine.
it's okay.
That's fine.
It's a beautiful part of like that crumbling or that metamorphosis, the butterfly that once was a caterpillar that was in the cocoon. This is part of that unveiling part of peeling back so many thousands and thousands of years of illusions and belief systems that were predicated upon fear and shame, that then we go into that crumbling or that disillusionment and go, oh my gosh, what is real? It's the black hole. And when you're going through that black hole, it can feel very terrifying, but it's actually one of the most transformative pieces of the ascension process, the awakening process, because you have to go into the dark in order to come back into the
To the
light.
light.
And so I love that you're starting to use these pieces of nature. Like I love to be able to facilitate nature as a way for people to start to find their grounding again. So I'm loving that you're talking about this. And for someone who has been this traumatized, don't feel like you have to get to exactly where Allen is or I am at with your spiritual practice. Like this is the beautiful part about being an individual, about being your own sovereign authority, is doing what works for you. And honor the trauma. Make sure that you're doing everything that you can to get that body back into homeostasis, back into that, the calm, the rest and the digest. And then we can come back into rebuilding. And nature is one of the most beautiful, beautiful places for you to just feel present in the body, feel safe, And then it's those little opportunities, right, where you can lean into maybe like the rhythm of a tree or the grounding as you're sitting upon Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, or smelling a rose. That those are the still moments that you're starting to describe where you've had beautiful awakening processes where you've just been in stillness and you have received these pieces. And I love that you're a photographer too. Yeah, I have some beautiful photography in my office of yours, and I've seen you've shared with me so many of your pieces over the years, but being able to capture, a way to be able to still maintain a plug-in to a spiritual connection, right? Because people do go through that absence where they feel like it's totally cut off. They feel, the abyss, but then coming back
You,
into
you,
source.
one of the things that I've realized, and I didn't know this at the time I was going through it, so hindsight's always 2020, is that in order to reconstruct, in order to construct, you have to deconstruct. So if you're at that dark,
Yeah.
dark place,
Mm-hmm.
I say this carefully with a lot of aloha and understanding, celebrate it because
Mm-hmm.
you get to reconstruct what you want to reconstruct.
Yeah.
You can't rebuild on something that's on a place that already has something on it. You
Mm-hmm.
got to tear down before you can build back up. And yes, that tearing down can feel lost and awful.
Yeah.
Um, and in hindsight, I can celebrate it now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, sometimes,
Yeah. Well,
have my moments, but
it's in those moments, right, Ellen?
right,
Like those moments of where you do finally get up to those other stages of presence and awareness that you do fight or start to get those pieces of joy back in life. But I think
like
that comes from,
if
coming through that dark night and coming
if
into self
yeah,
reclamation.
I'm thinking if I go back to that time that I decided I was going to take off a year from
Mm-hmm.
religion, I had no idea what it was going to bring, other than I
Mm-hmm.
knew I still wanted to stay connected to something. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
that being out in nature and listening to the information on YouTube and podcasts that I did at that time, I had no idea what it was going to bring me and
Yeah.
was pleasantly surprised that, oh, I'm building something new and different.
Yeah.
But at the time I made the decision, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think, because I have seen so many clients go through different experiences, and for myself personally, like there are certain individuals that can't even walk into these buildings, right? Like they try to go to the meetings, they try to do these things, and either they're so triggered and so angry because of all the lies, or they're actually having a visceral
Right.
nervous system response where they're having panic attacks. And I'm like, these are trauma responses. And when you're getting messages from maybe clergy or maybe family members that, oh, that's where you need to be, fear and shame, it only perpetuates the trauma cycle. And so if by some odd chance, I have someone in a very highly structured religion, like that is the best advice that I could give an individual is if you know someone or you have a loved one who is struggling, who has gone through religious wounding, has gone through trauma, the last thing you want to be implying to them is, oh, the only way that they can heal is by them going back to the
Keep going.
source which abused or facilitated trauma for them. Like that is
I,
a zero, like
I,
a go through the no box. Like do not do that. Like that is so spiritually damaging for a person. And so if we could really somehow get this out into the correct community to say that's the last thing you want to do for someone that's going through a trauma response. And the best thing is a lot of times to step away and pause to get your body back into
think
homeostasis.
I remember telling a friend of mine who grew up in the same religion that I did. So we had that common thing and was talking about stepping away. And I was telling him, look, the only way I could think of to explain this, and I said, you tell me if I'm wrong. My friend was a hardcore alcoholic at the time, like hardcore. So it says, if this analogy doesn't work, let me know. I said, it feels like telling an alcoholic that you need to heal from this. Okay, good. But part of your healing is to go to the bar for 3 hours a week.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and just laughed and said, no way, that's not going to work. I said, okay.
No,
And so
it
that's
doesn't.
kind of what I felt like, that it's okay to step back. Like, and it took me years. It took me probably 10 years to realize that I needed to step back. Um, and support. I would also think if there's ways to support people would be just sitting and listening. And if they're angry, just listen with the anger. You don't have to take it on. You don't have to believe it, but just listening
Yeah.
and trying to understand where they're at without judgment.
Yeah.
Um, that was something that uh, I wish I'd had more of. Like,
Yeah.
uh, how do I want to say this? Nobody from the religion ever came and asked me what was going on.
Hmm.
It was only other people.
Yeah.
Or if I brought it up and they go, oh, well, what's going on? And even that was far and few between. And it's not that I'm trying to convince them that I'm right, but talking about it sometimes helps to process it and to figure out, well, is this the path I want to go on or not? But you can't figure out what those choices you have unless you have a chance to talk and process through it.
Yeah. And there's so much fear and shame that that's what tends to
Right.
happen
And
for
going
someone that's struggling. So,
going back and doing the same things that weren't working isn't going to work. Like just taking, like we say to say in Hawaii, like hanu, like take a breath, a deep breath, like your belly comes out. Take a deep breath,
yeah.
relax. Okay, what's in my best interest?
Wow. Yeah, I love that. So, I mean, for the listeners out there who are, in the depths of this, like I think so far what we're covering is I feel like being able to give yourself permission to be able to push pause. Doesn't mean you're making any big decision.
Oh,
It's just enough for you to start to get your body out of that trauma response and to recalibrate. It's a recalibration, and that breath, connecting in with nature, when you're finally in that stillness, it does allow you that opportunity to start to come face to face with some of those old belief systems where you go, huh, is this my belief system? Is this a belief system that was maybe projected through fear and shame? How does that feel inside of my body? And that's when you start to tune in and you go, huh, does this align with my core values? Because rebuilding spirituality often involves, identifying with core values that are a part of us always. Like when we come to the planet, I believe that we're intrinsically connected to values. And then we have, our belief systems kind of imposed on us because of where we're raised, what part of the earth we're brought up on. And so this is a time now, as you're sitting in that stillness, to come face to face to go with, okay, what is mine? What is theirs? And what do I choose, right? Like this is where now we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, that saying, and we get to go, what feels good inside of me? And so I guess that's where I would like to go with you, is understanding as you were kind of rebuilding, coming back into that core value, core value part of yourself. Like what, or maybe we could even just cover like 3 core values or however many you want to cover today, Ellen, but maybe starting with just a couple of those core values that guide you on your spiritual journey now.
Kapoloha, which I define as meaning showing up in love no matter what. Like no matter what's happening to me, no matter if it's happening to me or I'm however life is showing up, I choose to show up in love. Kapoloha. Uh, in fact, uh, a story behind that real quick. The picture behind me, I'm going to move so I can say see the full picture. Okay, that is a picture of Mauna Kea. Um, I'm on Maui looking across the channel at Mauna Kea at sunrise. And I think it was 2019, they were trying to put a new telescope on top of that island, on top of that mountain. It's the tallest mountain in Hawaii, a little over 13,000 something feet. And many Hawaiians said, no, no more. You're not going to put something up on top of our mountain anymore. And I'd seen protests before, but not like this one. This one, they had an edict of kapuloha. We are going to protest, but we're going to do it from a place of love. You cannot come up and build a telescope or block the road. And we're going to set up a little village here. And if you need medical care, we got it. If you need food, we got it. We do have rules: no drugs, no alcohol, no fighting. Um, and they did it from a very different place. And so that mountain, Mauna Kea, has become a symbol for me of remembering to show up with aloha no matter what's going on. And in fact, it's the screensaver on my phone. So I always see it every time I pick up my phone. I see it and remember it. I don't have to remember that story and try to remember what my value is. I pick up my
Yeah.
phone and go, oh yeah, kapoloha, I can do this.
I love that, Alan.
Um,
And for the listeners out there that are just listening through the podcasting audio format or via our the YouTube platform, you can actually see this beautiful horizon. And like I said, Alan is an amazing photographer, and so we'll make sure to include a
I
source
can
so
send
that
I can send you the picture or a link to
yes.
it. You can
Oh,
see
that would
it.
be amazing. So we'll send
Yeah.
that. We'll put it under the show notes so that you can find that. But you can also have access to his incredible work because not only as we've been talking about like coming back into like plugging into a source, right? The breath, nature, like you've also come into this beautiful connection into your core value, but you've been able to do that through capturing nature. And nature has a vibration, like whether we're looking at the clouds or the mountain range or flowers or trees, like we have a beautiful spectrum of color that exists on the planet. And some of the greatest healing vibrational energies come through not only what we see, but what we hear, what we feel, like through our five senses. And you have a beautiful way of like really stepping into that core value through your creative genius. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
The other two values are well, they're all connected, they're connected, but I say
Mm-hmm.
pono, or being aligned with my values.
Mm-hmm.
Pono, many of you have heard of ho'oponopono.
Yeah.
The ho'o is what changes pono to an action. Like being just pono is like alignment. Ho'opono would be to create that alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you put ho'oponopono, it just accentuates that. So being pono and making sure I like always asking myself questions and evaluating like, am I aligned with what my highest values are? Am I being pono? Am I showing up in kapaloha? Am I showing up in integrity and honesty? Am I being transparent?
Yeah.
Um, I work at an elementary school, and there have been times when I call one of the kids out on something they shouldn't be doing, and then I realized I didn't do that in a way that was pono. I didn't do that in a way that was really aligned with my values of doing it with aloha. And so
Mm-hmm.
I find myself coming back to that child and apologizing to them. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying what you did was right. I'm saying how I handled it, I can do better. And so my
Yeah.
commitment to you is that I will do better next time. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
Yeah.
those would be the three, I would say. Kapaloha, pono, and honesty, integrity, transparency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's beautiful. Like I love that like this is a way that there can be hope because a lot of times people feel like, oh, if I step away from my religion or that no longer serves me, I can't see myself in that. Sometimes it does feel very disorienting. And so knowing that your core values always have been and they will always be a part of you, it's just coming back home. It's just coming back home to that part of yourself so that you can show up and you can start to rebuild. And so being able to, do the nature walks or even some of these other parts, I'll let you go into maybe some of the ways that you've implemented your spiritual practices.
I want to come back to breath just for a minute because I get how hard that can be. And you go, breath, come on, how can that really help?
Yeah.
So, an example, I'm at work. I've got 60 kindergartners that are lining up and trying to get lunch. And it can get a little bit crazy because nobody likes standing in line, especially kindergartners. And something that I stumbled on and it's turned out to be really fun is I'll tell them what the menu is. It's hot dogs, fruit, salad, milk, and air. They're like, air? What do you mean? We don't eat air. You're having it right now. Let's have some air. You go, hanu, hanu, which means breathe. Like, let's hanu, let's breathe. Take a breath. And it's amazing that when they take a breath, how their energy just
Right.
I don't even have to tell them the menu. Like I'll just, hey guys, I think it's time to take a breath. Let's all breathe together. And what do you want to breathe? Oh, I want to breathe unicorns. Okay, breath. Unicorn. Aloha.
Oh,
Mahalo. Whatever it is. And the energy just kind of settles down.
yeah.
And somebody just encourage you, like it's simple as breathing.
Yes.
Just to relax can be extremely helpful.
Yes, and it's something that our creator, divine creator, however you identify with that, that's what we've been gifted. It doesn't cost a
Yeah.
dime.
Nope.
And the fact that you're certified in this breath work, like you know the power of so many different ways of using the breath to start to bring the body into calm. And so it is literally like just starting at that square one foundation with the breath. And I love that you're bringing in that the childlike curiosity of breathing in unicorns, right? Like, and when we can come back into that part of our childlike curiosity and playfulness, I think that's another great way to help us rebuild a spiritual foundation, because so many parts of our inner child have been lost because of traumas or wounds that we don't even feel like we can have fun, right? And especially going
Yeah.
through religious wounding and religious trauma and your whole entire structure ripped out from underneath you and having to recalibrate and find joy in life. A lot of times it doesn't feel safe, but if you can take your breath and you can start to have fun with it, this is where you get to plug into your sovereign authority and to decide, okay, how do I choose to live for my spiritual foundation?
I think choice is a big thing, is beginning to realize that I had more choices than maybe I thought I did. Was a big way of realizing what choices do I really have. Um, and just because I choose it today doesn't mean I got to choose it tomorrow. Try
Exactly.
something, it doesn't work. Okay, I'm out. Um,
Yes. Well,
nature, we've got over nature. Plant medicines from my journey has been a big part of it. They're not for everybody. I'm not here to advocate for them. I'm saying for me, um, they were extremely helpful. Opening my mind up to seeing things in different ways. Um, I grew up believing that other religions uh, worshipped idols or false gods. And as I was talking with a friend of mine one day about Ganesh, which is the elephant
yes.
symbol in Hinduism,
Yeah.
it hit me that I'm not worshiping this funky elephant. The elephant symbolizes many values. They're honoring those values and remembering those values and how they want to live them in their life. So I
That's
actually
beautiful.
just got a Ganesh symbol yesterday.
That's beautiful.
um,
Yeah, that's
because I want to
powerful.
remember that. I want to remember what those symbols are.
Yeah.
And um,
Well, and is it okay, Alan? As you're talking about this, like I learned about Ganesh too, and I was like, wow, that's powerful. And as I have learned to be able to see things from a different perspective, not just in the little box that I was taught in, I've
right,
been able to open up to like a whole entire worldview of realizing individuals all across the entire planet have different ways of communicating, connecting, building, ascending, becoming. And so I love to be able to see the beauty in that And as I have been walking a shamanic path, doing a lot of different practices in the healing arts, it's been beautiful to come back to even just the messages of nature. Like I've always just been really connected in with nature. Nature has always been very, very healing for me. And so whether I'm like, I don't know how many times I've found a feather, like found a feather on the ground, or watched a beautiful butterfly come into my presence. And this week, I literally have seen a hummingbird 4 different days this week come right in my presence, like right next to me. And in that space, like those are the moments that I'm like, whoa, there is a connection into a message or something divine that is trying to speak with me with the hummingbird, right? Like for me, a hummingbird is a very big symbol for me right now. And I love all of the ways that the hummingbird is trying to teach me. And I've had so many different experiences with all of these little things that actually also make it very fun. It makes my spirituality fun, and it brings my foundation that I'm rebuilding, something that I've created and I've chosen. And maybe that doesn't work for everyone, but
Right.
for me, it's so healing and it's so sacred because this, when I think about it, as I've peeled back all of these layers of things that have been imposed on me, when I have peeled those back and I have sat, just as we have talked about, we've come back into the breath, we've come back into the communion with nature, we've come back into those still moments of reflection. That connection to the divine through nature has always been with me, and it continues to be with me. And so that's something absolutely, like I've got that as one of
Um,
my spiritual platforms is nature and the way that it speaks with us.
I realize people aren't as lucky as I am to live in a place with so much nature.
Yeah.
I'm 10 minutes from the forest. I'm 10 minutes from the beach. I often see
Mm-hmm.
rainbows on my way to work. So I get that not everybody can do that. And there's been times where I haven't been able to get to nature for whatever reason. So something I have found that I try to do, actually I do this whenever I fly, um, is just your feet on the bare earth, on the grass. If you can't get to grass, on concrete, something that actually grounds you, and just go barefoot or just stand with your bare feet on the ground for a little bit. If not, walk on it. I've done it even in the snow when I needed to do it and couldn't do it. I'll put my feet in the snow just for a little bit. And that grounding has like literally a grounding effect. There's actually a science to it that I won't get into now, but um, like if you can't get to nature and you want to, at least if you can put your feet on the bare earth for a little bit, usually there's a little patch of grass or dirt or a rock that you can put your feet on somewhere and take a breath. Is been a very helpful thing when I can't get to nature. Um,
Yes, absolutely. Well, and even going into the mind's eye, right? Like
yeah,
that, like it is very powerful because our subconscious doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. And yes,
yeah,
when we can literally be next to a tree or in the dirt or next to ocean waves, wow, that vibration is so powerful. But when you can take that moment to go into stillness, close your eyes, use that third eye to bring you in
just
to
imagine it.
nature, so,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
powerful. So, either way,
yeah.
coming into this, bringing in that symbology is incredibly powerful.
Right. And so I'm not sure this is part of the question or not, but I'm gonna go there. Something recently that's been coming to me is, and this kind of goes back to symbolism and what are things pointing to.
Mm-hmm.
If I were not to throw out all the scriptures, like the baby with the bathwater, and to come
Mm-hmm.
back to, there's one that talks about that the biggest thing is to love God. And then the second thing is to love your neighbor as yourself. One of my, I just want to call it a pet peeve, because I used to try to talk about it in religion and nobody wanted to listen. So, okay, fine, I'm going to take it to my own heart. There's another one in there that nobody talks about. Love your neighbor as yourself. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
love yourself first. What does that look like? And it looks different to all of us.
Yeah.
Um, and just recently I realized it's a circle because in order to love God, he says, you show love to me by loving your neighbor. Okay, wait, in order to love my neighbor, I gotta love myself. I love myself, I love my neighbor, I love God. And it's this one circle.
Yeah.
It's that unity that everything is oneness. And that I just been thinking a lot about that lately.
Wow,
And
that's
everything
so
just kind of points,
beautiful.
I think everything just kind of points to that for me.
Yeah, that well, and I something that I um, reiterate, especially because I'm so passionate about the divine feminine and the healing balm of the divine feminine. Like that energy is coming in with the circle. We've been in a very toxic structure of hierarchies and competition, judgment, fear, shame. Like it's all about this, you know, a different energy that has not been working for thousands of years. And so when I think about that circle or even the spiral of
Yeah.
sorts, like the energy is ever moving, right? Like it's this. And so when we can break out of that hierarchical energy and come back into the circle, that brings us back into that
It just,
sovereign place of authority.
it just hit me as you said that. And it's not that
Hmm.
one is more important than the other
No.
because you can't love God without loving your neighbor. You can't love your neighbor till you love yourself.
Yeah.
And they're all one. There's not one that's more important. It's
Yes.
that circle.
Yes.
Whoa, hey, thank you. That's
Beautiful.
make
Yeah,
that connection.
you are so welcome. And that, because of so many thousands of years of where we lost that divine feminine and it broke off part of a very intrinsic part of who we are as individuals, and it started to go into this very toxic patriarchal reality. We have lost that part of ourselves that lives within us, like that innate wisdom of the divine, like that circle that you're talking about, that oneness of being a creation of the divine. And so with the Aquarian age, with that divine feminine integration, it is that energy that is starting to bring us back into integrating the divine masculine in a healthy way. Unfortunately, we've had a mirror of really toxic feminine, toxic masculine structures that have caused us to not trust ourselves, not trust our own intuition, always seek outside of ourselves, to believe that somehow, some way, it's seeking outward always that is going to eventually move us up this hierarchy and gain our reward. But now, as we are moving in that circular energy, we are finding that divine energy is from within. It is always with us, and we have that ability to access here, rather than, I feel like it's kind of chasing that metaphorical carrot, chasing for something that never arrives.
Right.
So, and
Like
but
it's always outside of us, when really it's inside of
it's
us.
inside of us, and us being able to start to come back into that breath, come back into that stillness, come back into nature, allows us to finally come back to that center sovereign place, so that we can hear, we can see, we can connect into the wisdom that's always been,
Yeah.
and it's very powerful. So thank you for sharing your analogy about the circle, because it goes so much in alignment with how I feel the divine feminine is working with us, and then intrinsically working with that divine masculine. It's been so divisive and in humanity in general, and the divine energy, both masculine and feminine, is in that circle. Neither is more powerful than the other. They both have
We need both.
equal wisdom.
Right.
So,
I I don't know, another story come to mind if that's all right.
yeah.
About looking within. There was I work at an elementary school. I get to watch the kids during recess and lunch and teach photography to the upper grades. third, fourth, fifth. Uh, about 90% of the school is Hawaiian immersion. So I get the opportunity to look at things from a very different perspective um, than a Western perspective. One of the fourth graders had this energy that was just off the charts. It wasn't rascally. It wasn't like bad. It was just a lot of energy and not quite knowing when to settle down and what to do with that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere along the line, I don't know what caused this. I don't know what happened. One day I put my finger out and said, "Hey, I'm feeling a little low. Can I have some of your energy?" And she said, "Okay." So we touched fingers and I made like I was getting more energy and she started settling down. So I actually started doing that with her. When I saw her having a lot of energy, I said, "Hey, why don't you give me some of that energy? And then you can settle down." And she did. And then it didn't take long before she was coming up to me and putting her finger out. Said, "Hey, I need to get rid of some energy. Will you take some energy for me?" I said, "Okay." And then it came up to where I'd be having a conversation, I'd be doing something, and I would just see this finger in my personal space. And she wouldn't say anything, but I knew what she needed. So I just put my finger out and keep my conversation going.
Yeah.
Um, I told her some other ways, like, "Hey, this isn't about me. Like, you can ask a tree. You can ask the ground. Just ask. It'll take for you." I gave her a rock at one time so she could in class, she could just put it on the rock and do it. By the time she was in fifth grade, by the time she graduated from fifth grade, less and less and less. And we actually had a conversation about it, how her energy just like really settled down. She learned to do it herself. And I guess the point of this is that sometimes we need the symbols, we need the ceremony, we need the coach, we need whatever it is to help us kind of figure it out. And then eventually we get it on our own because really we do have it within ourselves. But something we do need that outside
Mm-hmm.
to help us figure it out. But is
Mm-hmm.
that outside helping you figure out what you got within you? Like she learned that she had it within her. It wasn't about me. And she
Mm-hmm.
figured that out finally. And that we all have that. We may need tools outside of us, whether it be religion, whether it be a ceremony, whether it be a coach. But is that tool that we're using helping us to come back to what do I have within myself
Mm-hmm.
and being able to make those choices and to be able to manage, I don't know if that's the right word, things within myself.
Mm-hmm. Because we've been so programmed in a hierarchical structure,
Yeah.
a lot of times because so many systems are set up in hierarchy, like, oh, this person's in charge of this, and then these guys are trying to, run for this next position, and this coming back into a space of healing and working through things. I always like to remind people that we're coming back into that circle. And so you have people in the circle that maybe did go through something 10 years prior, 20 years prior, something very, very deep and dark and hard. They're there at a circle, in the circle, not to be better than or higher than. It's there to offer a space of wisdom so that you can come back home to the wisdom from within. And we're all in different phases and parts of our lives where we do have certain gifts to offer one another. And so I guess perhaps like we could use ourselves as this analogy. Like, I'm a pianist. I've taught piano lessons for many years. I look at you as a photographer. There are different skills that individuals have. And so for me, always thinking, oh, it's really fun to go take pictures on my camera. I don't necessarily have that particular skill set because I haven't walked that journey of learning the different things that I've got to learn in order to become a skilled photographer. Also for you, I guess I've never asked you that question if you know how to play the piano or not.
I begged my mom to stop taking lessons when I was
Okay,
younger. So I
so
did take lessons for a while.
so
She
so
finally
you
gave in. So I know I do not play anymore, but I have at one time.
so you've probably got a little bit of a skill set, but
A
being
little
able
bit.
to go to a piano teacher to say, hey, teach me some more skills to help me to get to this other space. I think is really valuable in society. And we're here to learn and grow from one
Right.
another, but it's not about someone being better than another
It's,
person. We all get to come to the table and offer wisdom and gifts for
yeah.
where we have to offer.
When I teach photography to the kids, it's so fun because it's not about the camera. It's not about they spend
Mm-hmm.
very little time behind the camera. I'll give them an assignment, and let's say like aloha. Go and we talk about receiving pictures and taking
Mm-hmm.
pictures because if you take something, what does that feel like? Versus if it's a gift that I receive and then I'm going to add my gifts to it and come up with something even better. So go receive a picture of aloha, and then they come back and they need to write their story. And their story needs to convince us that this is a picture of aloha, whether it's a plant, whether it's the sky, the clouds, a coconut tree, a chicken, whatever it is. Convince me this is aloha. Of a class of 23 kids, and there'll be 23 different pictures with 23 different stories, all telling me what aloha is. And so I guess I saw that as kind of the same thing in that there's one thing we're looking at, aloha, but I've got 23 different ways of looking
Mm-hmm.
at it and
Mm-hmm.
23 different stories about it. They're all really good and amazing. Like amazed at some of the things that they come up with. And I learned to see things in different ways because I never thought of a chicken as aloha or onipa or whatever it might be, but they've convinced me that a chicken is. And some people may just tell a story. Some people write a song and play the ukulele and sing it. Some people write a rap song and rap it out. Some people write a poem.
Love
There's
that.
all these different ways that we get to learn together because
Yes.
we're not the same.
No.
But we get to learn from each other.
Yeah, I love that. And I think like that just kind of brings everything to like this beautiful encircling with all of the concepts that we're talking about and little bits of wisdom, as people have joined us in today's circle. That's the way that I look at it. We're here in the circle, and I'm sure many of these listeners will probably have their own insights, their own wisdom that they bring to the table. And so being able to, no matter where you're at, being able to take those pieces and, if we were all offering a piece of advice, I guess my question to you, Alan, would be, for those who maybe have been going through this navigation of having to unravel, go through a faith transition, rebuild their spiritual foundation, like what would your advice be as they're passing through the phases?
There's no shame in asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and if the help isn't helpful, no is a complete sentence. No, I
Yeah.
don't want to do this anymore. It's not helping. Putting it out there, like finding community and finding places for me to go through this process has been kind of tough. I tend to be an introvert. Haven't known where's a safe place to talk to people about this because my whole life before was the religion. Where do I go to talk
Yeah.
about this? I
Mm-hmm.
can't go there. But having that intention there, I realize now in hindsight, I have had communities that have kind of come up and it may not be communities like literally next to me, like neighbors, but they're people like you, people like a friend of mine in Indiana that has a spiritual friends group that we get to have these deep
Mm-hmm.
conversations and figure this stuff out together.
Yeah.
It's like finding that safe place where you can process and do this. It's okay to get your. It's going to be hard doing it alone. And I
Yes.
don't mean to put that out there and be discouraging, but it's okay to get help.
Yeah.
It's okay to like find that safe place and stick with it. Breathe. Give yourself a break. You've gone through a lot. You're creating something new, and it can get really messy. I used to work in an operating room, and like it's a mess, but it gets all neat and tidy at the end. So you might be in the middle of the mess, but you can clean it up.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow, it's been a huge privilege today and being able to sit at the table. I love coming together in this circle of wisdom. I thank all of the viewers today as they've joined us in this sacred conversation. So, Alan, if it's okay with you, I guess with the both of us, I invite all of our listeners to take a deep breath. And as you take a deep breath and just settle into all of the wisdom, all of the words of today's conversation, may whatever jewels that have resonated with you begin to settle into your heart. And I thank you again, Alan,
Thank you.
for
Thank you.
joining
Wow.
me. Yes, yeah,
Wow.
thank you. And I appreciate your beautiful language, the way to speak Hawaiian. I do my very, very
I'm
best,
not.
and I'll do my best
The
to
students always
close.
correct me. The students are always
Yes,
correcting me,
you
and I'm
well,
not the
you
best at
definitely
it, but
correct me, but I love the vibration that comes through many of these ancient concepts of the Hawaiian traditions, and so such beauty. The aloha.
Aloha.
Okay, he says it in a beautiful,
I
beautiful way.
don't know.
But when I think about that, like when I think of the love, the wisdom of nature, the honesty of living in integrity, or that quiet knowing of our soul, like the journey, right? The journey of rebuilding spirituality after a faith transition, is about reclaiming that direct relationship with the divine, but doing it on your own terms. And so sometimes we have to let go of
Yeah.
toxic belief systems that once held meaning, right? It's like sifting through and going, wow, I really need to get rid of this poison so that I still can enjoy the sweetness, and being able to eventually, like, it doesn't mean that you have to do it right now. It doesn't mean that you have to, try to make certain things work. If you're done with it, be done with it. But it is possible to be able to start to sift through that and to eventually find the benefits of going through this dark night of the soul had for you. Like,
Oh,
and I mean, it's so, yes, this journey is not for everyone. And I know you can confirm that, Ellen. This journey is not for everyone. It is a very hard experience, but when you can finally come to a place after all of the wounding, after all of the hard and the darkness, eventually you can come back and you can go, okay, what we can definitely identify the drawbacks. Those are easy. It's like, okay, let me write my list of drawbacks from all of this. But eventually, once we work through that trauma and we let go of a lot of those deep, deep stories, we can eventually come back and go, wow, what did I learn and gain? What were the benefits? And so that is my invitation as you do invite yourself back into your own sacred autonomy, your own ability to choose what you desire in your life for your sacred spirituality, is then being able to reclaim what it is that you do love about those parts of your life. And so whether it's that love of the kapua aloha
aloha.
there, thank you,
That's so
Alan.
good.
I
That's
think
good.
I think we'll just put his voice. we'll dub it in to where I'm trying to say this. But as
That's
we
okay.
bring in that love and we bring back those parts that we've talked about, we have that ability, right? We have that ability to let go, but also create those foundations that are built on the core values and start to bring in practice again. That can be a very beautiful thing, is to have practice, and step into that courage and that confidence to own your own intuition, your own inner wisdom, especially when the world says otherwise. So, not an easy journey, but it can become more fluid as you begin to navigate that dark night of the soul. Just remember that you're not broken. You are
Yeah.
breaking open. You are breaking
Yeah, there you
open.
go. I like
This
that.
is that catalyst. It's the
Yeah.
invitation to rise, not by returning to once was, because there's no way that you can ever go back to the way that it was, but it wasn't meant to be that way. You were meant to break open. You're meant to wake up and step into what's always been inside of you. So my deepest passion is helping others walk this path. So if I can be here to help support you, coming back into integrating that divine feminine, that divine masculine energy within you, so that you can live from your place of wholeness, truth, and sovereignty. I'm here to support you as well. And like I said, Allen, we'll post in some links so that the audience can contact you, find your work. But any closing thoughts as we move out for today?
You said it beautifully. You have it within you. Stick with it. You're all beautiful people, and um, enjoy life. And do
Beautiful.
what you got to do to enjoy life.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
as we bid you farewell for today, just remember that you are sacred. You are the space, and you are the one that you've been waiting for. So whether your connection to spirit now looks like stillness, or it looks like ceremony, community, or like walking barefoot on the earth, trust that it's valid and it's perfect for you, and it is more
Yeah.
than enough. So
Yes. You are
thank
more than enough.
yes, thank you for being here, and thank you for reclaiming your sacred spirituality. Until next time, keep listening to the wisdom within and keep choosing the path that leads you home to your soul. In reverence and truth, I will catch you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the Discover Divinity podcast. If this podcast resonates with you, I invite you to check out discoveringdivinity.com. You will find resources to reclaim your sacred, sovereign spirituality. Here, you can join the Discover Divinity community, where we have free online community classes, as well as done-for-you courses and programs. Navigating the unique personal path to wholeness can feel overwhelming at times. If you would like further support or are ready to take your healing empowerment to the next level, I offer one-on-one intuitive sessions in a variety of different packages where we will discover, release, create, reclaim. Discover your innate wisdom that lies within. Release the imbalances that prevent you from living your truth. Create harmony in body, heart, mind, spirit, energy, and relationships. Reclaim your sovereign soul. It is time to discover new possibilities. It is time to discover you.